If you have a problem with pests at the minute, got some advice for you now. So give us a call, 03459 570057. We'll see if we can help. You may have heard the story earlier in the week about the pest situation at Drusilla's. The animal park laid rat bait after vermin attacked and killed 5 rainbow lorikeets. Although it was laid deep underground where the rats were nesting, the rodents dropped some residual bait above ground level, which then led to the death of 11 birds. But just how do you deal with pests around your home, your business, or your garden safely, especially if you have pets and children around? Paul Bates is Managing Director of Cleankill Pest Control. Paul, morning to you.
Morning, Danny.
Hi there. So let's deal with rats first of all. Is this a big time of the year for them then?
Rats and mice tend to be around most of the year. This time of year, you're starting to see them. They're starting to move away from their burrows, come out. It's the breeding season. Rather embarrassingly, I had rats recently in my own garden shed.
So you are not immune?
No, I've got a compost bin at the back of the shed, and compost, of course, stays warm over winter, even in the coldest time, and that's a good source of food because being a good composter, all the food and vegetable waste goes into the compost bin, which provides a nice food source for rats over winter, and then they chew through the bottom floor of my shed.
Ah, right. And who'd you call to deal with that then? No. So that's sorted now, I assume.
It certainly is.
What are the first signs that we might have rats? You might not see them.
No, quite often we've just been into a property where they found rat droppings just in a corner, and there was a smell as well. And then the more you start looking, you'll start seeing gnawing damage. The teeth of a rat are constantly growing, and from they're rodents, and that's from the Latin rodentere, which means to gnaw. So they will chew through mild steel, and quite often it is the damage that you'll see first.
Hang on, I'm just letting that piece of information sink in so I can remember that for the future. That's serious gnashers.
It is, and it's the same for squirrels, rats, mice, and squirrels probably do more damage in property than rats do. Rats get the bad publicity, probably because they've got a bald tail, and people think of squirrels, this nice furry-tailed animal, but they actually do more damage when they get into loft spaces. All
right, so you've got to look out for those as well, have you?
Yeah, this is the time of year where if you've got a bit of damage to a soffit or a fascia board, now's the time to get it repaired, because that's where squirrels will get in, that's where birds will get in, and from squirrels and birds, you'll then start getting other pests, the insect pests, coming in as well.
And so if squirrels get in, what are they looking for? Are they going to eat through your floorboards for nourishment, or are they just looking for somewhere warm and looking for other food?
Mostly when squirrels are in a loft space, they're looking for somewhere to live and breed. It's nice, it's warm. They're generally a nice woolly insulation material up there. And once they get in, they'll keep you awake at night because they'll be scurrying around, and then you'll go up there, and then because again they're rodents, they'll be gnawing through the joists of the ceilings.
So that can get expensive eventually. If
that can get very expensive.
Okay, and is there any easy sort of surefire way of dealing with rats and squirrels? Because I mean, you got to get them all out, haven't you?
Yeah, the trouble is quite often you're not allowed to live trap a squirrel and then release it into the wild. With any pests such as rats, mice, they are pests, and it is actually illegal to release them into the wild. So generally we'll be using traps in loft spaces against squirrels. For rats, we'll be looking for burrows. Where are they getting in? Can we carry out proofing? In pest control against things like this, we look for exclusion first. Can we keep the pest out of the property? If they've got in, can we restrict their movement? And then as a last resort, destruction, we have to get rid of the pest.
Staying on the rats for a second then, Paul, here's a question from Lou in Broadbridge Heath. Lou saw a rat in her garden. She got a trap and put peanut butter on top of the trap to get the rat inside. It escaped from the trap, so she doesn't know now what to do, as she doesn't want any poison down because she has dogs.
Yeah, peanut butter is one of the classic pest control methods for baiting a trap. Now, was it a live trap? Was it a snap trap? If it's a snap trap, if it's properly set, then rats really shouldn't be escaping from them.
Okay. So what's their next course of action if the trap's not working?
Get a proper trap. I mean, you can get them from garden centres, hardware stores, a proper rat trap, and they're quite substantial, like the old-fashioned mouse traps that you see on Tom and Jerry. But they're far more substantial, and if they're properly baited and properly set, then yeah, they will get rid of the rats.
Right. So if it's an old-fashioned, sorry to bring this down to childhood level, but if it's an old-fashioned rat trap like that in Tom and Jerry, then that snaps over and that kills the rat, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Okay, although it never seemed to kill Jerry the mouse, which is good because I love Jerry the mouse.
Yes.
But if you're going to get a different trap that keeps them inside alive, but you just said to me you can't then release them into the wild.
You're not allowed to release them into the wild.
So then, do you have to kill them then?
You should kill them, yeah.
See, I'm less comfortable with that, I think.
Yes, unfortunately most people are, so that's why you need to get a professional company in.
Okay, very good. What should we be looking for in, because this might be the first time, maybe this weekend, because it looks like it's quite nice and mild, first time people are going to outhouses like sheds, garages, maybe up into the lofts. What should we be wary for up there?
Well, over the next 4 to 6 weeks, it's when the wasps will start building their nests. And the first sign is often a little golf ball, grey golf ball hanging from the ceiling of the loft or the shed. And people often just disregard it, thinking, oh, not sure what that is. That's the time to get rid of the wasp nest, because if you leave that, the queens have just come out of hibernation. If you leave it by July, August, you'll have 10 to 15,000 wasps in that nest. And that's when they'll start attacking you and causing all sorts of problem. If you get rid of that wasp nest now, that's the nest dealt with, because the queens only build one nest a year.
Right, so that is, and now's a safe time to do that because there aren't the tens of thousands that you were talking about.
No, generally the queen has just got 2 or 3 workers that are going out. If you just spray it with a fly spray, knock it off, put it into a black bag, and just dispose of it in the rubbish.
Pop it in the bin, right? Okay, make sure it's well tied up first, or what?
If you sprayed it with an aerosol insecticide, then it'll be perfectly safe.
Okay, what about other things? Moths, for instance, clothes moths.
Clothes moth, this is the time of year, as it warms up, people should be putting their winter woolies away and getting the summer clothes out. The trouble is they put the winter woolies away and then leave them for the next 6 months, 7 months, hopefully 8 months. When they get them out, they'll find they're full of holes because the clothes moth larvae have got into them and they'll be eating them away. The best thing we can advise there, put the clothes into vacuum packed bags. You can get them from lots of the department stores. If you're not doing that, then every month, take the clothes out, turn them over. It's springtime now, and if you remember what Great Granny used to do, she used to pick up her carpets, take them out into the sunshine and give them a good banging. And half of that was to get rid of the clothes moth larvae. They try and get away from the sunshine, and by hitting the carpets, you're removing the larvae. They're falling out. And now we've got much more problem because we've got fitted carpets,
yes,
much more natural fibre clothing, and we don't look after it properly.
And they love all that stuff. All right,
they certainly do.
This is very useful, Paul. It's also, again, we had this yesterday, because yesterday this time we were talking to a guy who eats roadkill, and I was pretty grossed out by some of the things he said. And I'm on the edge at the minute, but this is useful information, so we'll stick with it. What about ants and other creepy crawlies like carpet beetles and things?
Well, carpet beetle are the same as the clothes moth. We call them textile pests because that's what they eat, is textiles. The carpet beetle looks like a little half-sized ladybird, but it's a black and yellowy mottled colour. The adults feed on hogweed and spirea outdoors, and they don't do any damage. But when they come indoors, they'll lay their eggs, and it's the larva, once again, which will cause the damage, quite often be behind sofas if they're not being moved out regularly. And the larva will feed on wools and natural fibre carpets and clothing. And the common name that people sometimes know them by is woolly bears, because they're tiny, sort of 3 or 4 millimetre size insect, and they're covered in sort of little bristles. But they're the things that will be eating the carpets.
And that's a bad and expensive thing. And the ants, are they starting to do business at the minute?
Ants will start to be, when ants are outside, there's millions of them, there's not a lot you can do about them, but when they start getting into the patios and you start seeing the the underlay of the patio, the sand, coming out in little piles. You know you've got the ants' nests there, and if you can deal with them now, you won't have so much problem later on in the year with them making piles on the lawn, coming in and feeding off bits of sugary substances that have been left indoors or in the kitchen. You need to try and keep them away from the outside walls of the house if possible. If it's in the soil, then dig them out. If it's in the patio, then good old-fashioned hot water down the hole that they're in will deal with them without the need for using insecticides.
That's a classic, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, two final things. Jim texts in, what do you do with the dead pests? Yeah, if you do manage to trap that rat in your rat trap, what do you do with the carcass of that?
If it's dead and it's a single rodent, then wrap it up, bagged, and a single rodent can go out with the ordinary rubbish.
Right, okay. And if it's more, that's...
If it's more, then you should either get in touch with the council or a company to come and remove, because they should be incinerated.
Okay. Paul, thank you for that. And finally, if the problem is so big that we need to get somebody to come in and do that, whether it's yourselves or someone else, is there a kind of standard? Is there an organisation? How do we know we're getting a good pest controller?
All pest controllers should be members of either the British Pest Control Association or the National Pest Technicians Association. The British Pest Control Association have a website, and you can put your postcode in, what your pest is, whether you're domestic or business, and all the local businesses will come up on that website.
Okay, so that's a sort of a reassurance scheme, is it?
Yes, it is.
Very good. Okay, thank you for your insight and your expertise, Paul. Good to talk to you again. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Paul Bates there, Managing Director of Cleankill Pest Control. Paul from Seaford, and some good advice there. Hopefully that's been useful to you. 10 minutes to 11 on BBC Sussex and BBC...